Hi, everybody. Welcome to the LVLing Up Vodcast, which is our vodcast where we get to hear from some amazing business owners who've done something strategic or out of the box to either start a new business or transform their business. And I'm really excited to welcome David Monk onto today's episode. Hi, David.
Hi, how you going?
Good, thank you. Now, this must feel a little bit like Inception to you because you're a professional podcast producer and you're on
Mm.
the other side of this today. How
Yes,
does it
that's
feel?
right. Oh, look, it's just like riding a bike, really.
Good, good. Well, looking forward to hearing what you've been up to. Newsflash, this is going to be a COVID story, which you know I love COVID stories, and a pivot
Mm.
story, which is awesome. But before we hear about your story of transformation, David, do you want to just give us a bit of a spiel about what you do at Podcasts West?
Well, I'm the founder and creative director of Podcast West. And basically, I'm a podcast producer. So I do what a radio producer does is that I do all the research, all the back end stuff, wrangle guests, make sure that you're basically all you have to do is just to rock up to the day and record. And once you record, I take care of, well, I outsource the editing and I make sure everything's all presentable, distributed right, and make sure you're growing.
Fantastic. And is it podcasts for anyone? And is it just in Australia? Who's on your radar?
It's for everyone. Primarily, I've got most of my clients are in Perth, but I may have a few overseas clients in the pipeline. But I can, beauty about this job, I can work remotely and from home. So this is a I say this is the new renaissance, I guess, of working.
Exactly, exactly. It's I think we're getting a lot more done and we can connect
Yeah.
with a lot more people. And like even right now, you're over in Perth, I'm in Brizzy, and here we are doing a podcast episode. It's awesome. I love it.
Hmm.
Great. Well, thank you for that. Now you've got an intriguing story. Why don't you take me way back to what you were doing pre-COVID and then how you became, the founder of Podcast West? What happened to you?
Okay. Pre-COVID, actually, I might wind back to about 2012.
2012? Yeah.
Yeah. So 2012, I turned 30 and I was in hospitality and I wasn't enjoying it. So I went back to uni and basically, there's a little advice for anyone who's at a career crossroads. And I don't think it's a quarter life crisis, but I just sit back and reflect and say what I wanted to be when I was 12. And when I was 12, I either wanted to be the next Steven Spielberg or an ad man. So I went back to uni. Now I went into marketing because I just came to realize that I'm creative and the best way to win over liberal voting conservative parents that your education is worthwhile is to go into not into a business discipline but marketing. So I went into marketing, did my first masters by marketing coursework, got bitten by the research bug. Then I went to done my masters by philosophy. So that took up pretty
Cool.
much bulk of the 2010s.
Yeah.
And as soon as I submitted my thesis, the next day I opened up, well, essentially it was my second business, which was I started as a freelance social media manager. That lasted about a year until COVID hit.
Yes.
And the funny thing, because the government shut down pretty much all my clients.
Oh, so who were your clients at the time, David?
I had I had nightclubs, I had hairdressers. I mean, I had a couple of tradies and they still stuck on, but most of the
Yeah.
all the ones that had like personal in, one-on-one, kept it sort of touch. That was closed down, and my clientele was wiped out. So
Oh man, talk about the flow-on effect of
yeah,
shutdown, right? Oh,
yeah. So I just had a bit epiphany because I had been podcasting for about 6 months prior. I just started off podcasting. I'm actually recording in the studio today, so this is where it all began, the co-working space in the city. And I just started saying, look, I'll just niche down to podcasting. So I began to start just offering podcasting for beginners course just to get the wheels in motion. And in August last year, I decided I'm going to really niche down into podcasting. I sort of started a bit broadly, but now I'm just focusing on production. So that's me in a nutshell.
That's amazing. So how did you land on podcasting? Was it just because you had already been doing it? Because it seems like you couldn't have picked a better thing, David, because
Yeah,
you had all your clients sort of go to ground
yeah.
or shut down, which sucks for social media management. But
Mm,
we've seen, as we we're just talking, vodcasts, podcasts, Zoom calls, everyone's
mm.
online now. Was it just a matter of, yes, this is the right time, I'm going to do it? Or was it just a passion that sort of led you there?
Bit of both. It was a passion because I had previously volunteered on community radio station in my 20s. So I have had that experience with audio. And once I was playing around in the podcast studio, I felt like this is like riding a bike. It's what I love doing. So yeah, that's kind of it. And then also, I just noticed the trend, and I noticed that it was growing, and people were stuck at home. And I just made a, actually, I made a, say a podcast, but it's more of a short video. So this is a line of sand. I'm just going to hear entertain the troops, and that's how podcasting grew.
That's cool. I
Yeah,
really love that. So when did you start Podcast West? So it's COVID, but what sort of period last year?
the official launch date was August 18th, 2020. So
Excellent. So we're like, what, 9, 10 months in? How's it
yeah,
gone? Has it gone through the roof?
it's been growing quite sustainably, and I've got a lot of projects in the pipeline. I'm quite happy where it's going at the moment.
That is awesome. That is
Yeah.
great. And look, I always ask guests on the show, so you've transformed. You've almost done, look, a 180 of your business,
Yes.
aligned but very different. Although I'm begging to know, have you picked up any social media again?
No.
Podcasts for life now.
Podcast for life. I'll probably will outsource the social media. I do offer it in the package, but I really just love to create evergreen long form content. So it's
That's brilliant. I
yeah.
love it. Now, what I was going to ask, it's amazing how I have guests that come on the podcast, and they've got their own personal story of transformation, but they actually transform other people and their
Mm.
businesses as well. I'd love to know, David, how have you seen podcasts sort of change other businesses that you've been working with or other people?
Well, the thing about podcasting is that there is a secret network of podcasters once you have a podcast.
Oh, tell us more.
Right. So, and I'm speaking from experience. Last year, I invited all these guests onto my show,
Yep.
and I'm just immediately I connected with them on LinkedIn. They then will put guests forward to me. I put guests forward to them, and we're growing up a big network. And I'm doing the same with my other guests. Like I've got a doctor now, and she's only in early stages, but she's enjoying it because I'm connecting her with other specialists around Australia who are like-minded, and she's learning. And this is the other thing about it. It's not just, you got to think a bit macro, I guess. So it's not
Mhm.
just thinking it's not going to generate sales. It's the beginning of the value chain, and the value chain is if you value professional growth and anything like that, having a guest on your podcast with different expertise, asking them questions, you learn a lot, and you can grow that way.
Absolutely. I am speaking from my own experience, can totally relate to that. I have
Mm,
met so many amazing people to the point now where they're reaching out to me going, let's connect. I'm like, awesome. But you're right, you do learn
yeah.
as the host, or even if you're on someone's show. But you're actually delivering value to other people as well. So
Mm,
it's a win for everyone. And I think that's why there is such a trend of podcasting sort of taking off. And
yeah.
the more we're listening to intelligent things and not watching reality TV is probably a good thing, I would imagine.
Absolutely.
I like
And
it.
and it's also the second golden age of audio right now. So,
Oh, tell us more about that. How did this come about?
well, it's two things. It's a bit of a paradox because this technology around us is accelerating at an exponential rate.
Hmm.
But more that's accelerating, the more people want to have something more personal and intimate. And there's no
Yes.
other medium out there that's personal and intimate than a podcast, because a podcast, you're just right in your listener's ear
Mm-hmm.
at scale. So,
Fantastic. Now, I'm sure there are people watching this going, okay, I'm intrigued, I'm inspired. It's time to start a podcast. Have you got any top tips for how to make a really great podcast?
well, publish, publish, publish.
Ooh.
Forget about perfection. Okay.
Ooh.
Mark Twain once said that slow progression is better than delayed perfection. Now, the biggest hurdle for most new podcasters is that they always put it off, they always wait for the perfect moment. You know, to me, my book, The Perfect Moment, was yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Just go out there, don't care what other people think, just start it on your phone even, and just start publishing. You can build
Like it.
your audio quality as you go along, as you think of it as a new hobby,
Mm-hmm.
like I did, and just build your skills gradually, and you'll get there.
That's brilliant advice. And same for any sort of, putting yourself
Mm,
out there on
yeah.
social media or wherever. I think there's this barrier that people think it does have to be perfect,
Mm,
but there's almost something endearing about seeing a human being on the other
yeah.
side who might accidentally drop a swear word or make a mistake. Or,
Yeah.
that's great advice. Any other tips?
Yeah. Also, anyone with a pie can be a podcaster. So, what I mean by pie, passion, interest, expertise.
Oh, yeah.
So, look inside yourself and look at the topic you want to talk to. Are you comfortable talking about that topic 2-3 years down the track? Because podcast burnout is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And also, my other tip is keep it in the sweet zone, which is about 30 to 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go over an hour if you're not that well known. If you're Michelle Obama, you can go over an hour and a half, 2 hours, because people know who you are, and
Oprah.
they can all listen to you because they all eat out of your words. But if you're, someone from the suburbs who's just got a house and a mortgage, just just keep it to that
Yep.
30 minutes is probably a good enough length for each episode to keep your listeners engaged and want you to come back for more. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's almost like the perfect length of time to commute
Mm,
to work
yeah.
or go for a walk. It's a great time. Okay, so publish. Keep it, in that nice tight 30 to 45 minute time slot. Let's do the trifecta. Have you got a third tip for us?
Third tip.
Putting you
Uh,
on the spot. Sorry, David.
yeah. Well, also say be passionate about what you talk about,
Hmm.
but also go into podcasting. It's not about the money, it's about community service.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest question people ask me is how you make money out of podcasts. And I say, look, 85% of podcasts don't make money.
Hmm.
And people who think that are only thinking scarcity, only thinking that it's got like a Facebook ad, but it's not.
Yeah.
The truth is, a podcast will last probably 50, 100 years. So you got to think long term. So get back to the point, it's all about community service, and you got to put your listener first. So ideally, before you start your podcast, draw up what's known as a persona of your ideal listener, what they like, what they like, what they don't like, what's in and outs, what they want to hear from you, and guide your content directed at them.
I love it. And we could not be more aligned because here at Level Up, we obviously are really passionate about having a strategy, having a
Mm,
really tight, brand strategy before you do any marketing. And podcasting is one of those channels that you can, push in the execution end, but you've got to be aligned
yeah.
all the way down. And part of that is knowing who your persona is and how
Mm,
to talk to them. Because even when you're
yeah.
looking for guests, you want to know who's going to resonate with
Mm,
your target market. So fantastic tips. I put you on the spot there. I didn't warn you I was going to ask for tips. So I do appreciate that
that's right.
you dropped 3 on us, which is awesome because I'm sure there are a lot of people out there watching this, a lot like me a few months ago going, I'm really intrigued by it. I love listening to podcasts, but I don't know where to start. So I think let's end with that note, David. How do
Yeah.
people start? Is it just a matter of picking up the old mobile and recording?
Well, I think, like, go back to there's an old saying in the military, right? It's the 6 P's: piss poor preparation prevents progress.
Yep.
So before you even pick up the phone, before you even start, don't just start from the heck of it. Okay? My
After all
best
my
thing,
spiel about strategy, here I
yeah,
am busting to get the phone out.
my best look. My best piece of equipment I ever bought is a book. It's just a journal. Just write stuff down. Have a plan. Just
Mhm.
write down, plan out your next first 10 episodes and build from there.
Yeah.
So have something in mind, have some goals. Don't just do it at the spare of the moment. No, improv can kill you. So, I'm not speaking from any previous comedy careers, but but let's look, just think it through and just have some take courage and do it. I think that's probably the bit of it.
Just
Make
do
sure,
it. I
just
love
do it, but make sure you know what you're doing. That's probably what my point is.
Yeah, have a plan, know who your persona is, and make content, plan out the first 10, as you say, that's really going to resonate. And then
Mm,
it just kind of organically goes from there, doesn't it?
yeah,
Once
it
you're
does.
on a roll. I love it. Okay, well, I think we should wrap. Do you want to give us a last, I guess, spruik of where we can find more from Podcast West?
Yep. So you can go to my website, podcastwest.com.au. You can follow me on Insta or LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, find Dave Monk, Enfield CPM.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a pose like that, so you know where I am. Or go follow me on Insta. I'm quite active on Insta. Or check out my 2 podcasts. So
Oh,
I've
yes,
got
yes. Tell us about your podcast.
so the first one is one I first started with is 12 Hats Radio, where I interview entrepreneurs all over the world,
Nice.
and I get them talking through the hero's journey. So I don't get them to do a sales pitch. I get them to talk about their journeys, their failures, what lessons they learned from them, even maybe get them to share a lighthearted story. So we try to keep it business but entertaining. The other one is my next project is the Friendly Futurist, where I talk about emerging technology and the implications on society and the environment. So, but in a sort of a accessible to the average bloke on the street. So I don't try to get too jargony. I just want to make sure that all this emerging technology is explained properly and people can make sense of it.
That's incredible. Two very different podcasts, but both I'm really intrigued by them. How can we find them? Are they on all of the good
Yep,
podcast hosting areas?
yep, they're all on Spotify, Apple, uh, Amazon, Google, all these are all the big ones. So yeah.
Excellent. I think I'm just about to commute myself, so I think I might listen to 12 Hats while I'm on the way in. Thank you so much for your time today, David. I know that lots of people, as I said, I'm really intrigued by podcasting, love listening to them, want to take the plunge, and hopefully this has inspired a couple of people to take that next step, have your
Mm,
plan, plan out the first 10 and just do, and you will get better with time. You can get better gear once you know that you're keen and you're into it, and then you just get it out there. We're in this, people are hungry for great
yeah.
intelligent conversation, and if you're passionate about something, go out there and do it. And if you want looking for a producer, you now know Dave. So
Yep. And I'm only a Zoom call away. So if you're in doubt, no obligations. I can sit down with you and I can discuss what we discussed now and
that
get
is
your ball rolling. So
thank you. I will put the Podcast West's website and maybe some of that Instagram and LinkedIn information as part of the video here underneath. So if you want to get in touch with Dave, you know where to find him.
yep.
Thanks everybody for tuning in, and thank you, Dave, for joining me today on the LVLing Up podcast.
You're welcome, Jasmine. It's been a pleasure.
See you later.